Absolutely nothing beats windshield time, a road trip, and good conversation in the car. Welcome to another episode of Dan the Road Trip Guy, where we have entertaining conversations about cars and road trips, life lessons, and maybe every now and then a little advice. I'm your host, Dan Neal, road trip extraordinaire, and now buckle up and enjoy the show. It's just me today, and I was feeling a little nostalgic this past weekend and brought back some memories from my childhood. I thought I would share those. Thinking back to when I was a young boy, Sunday afternoons, a lot of times my uncle would say, "Hey, let's go to the mountains." They weren't really mountains, they were hills. They did seem like mountains when I was a small boy. We would load up his old Willis Jeep. I best recall it was some sort of government vehicle that he had probably bought at an auction, because you could still see some sort of name on the side under the gray paint that he had painted the Jeep. Probably a 60-something model, if I were to guess. Had a big winch on the front. We would head off to the hills with our friend Earl Cordell. We would pack ourselves a lunch. I do recall it being probably potted meat, which I look back on that and I'm like, what is in potted meat? But anyway, we would have that, some crackers. We'd probably have some pork and beans. We'd follow that up with maybe some little Debbie Oatmeal Cream Pies or some moon pies, Pepsi. And I just remember that very vividly. I was fortunate to grow up across the street from Anderson's Grocery. When I was 9 years old, I walked across the street and my uncle looked at me and said, "You need a job," and he put me to work at the age of 9. I had an older brother who was 9 years older. He had gone off to college. I had a cousin who was 9 years older, and he had gone off to college and would later go to the Navy. My cousin kept the flame going on Anderson's Grocery until this past summer when he made the decision to sell. It was a store that had been started by my grandparents in a place called Rock Creek. I remember visiting that on our trips over to the hills, and you could still see a little bit of the house and the store standing there. They would later move it out to the town of Pine Knot, where that store would serve people for decades. My cousin has stood the test of time, watching big stores come to town and still continued to battle day in and day out. The store didn't change a lot. It had wooden floors. My cousin did update a few things, but a lot of the same coolers, fresh cut meat every day. In the summertime, there was feed and seed and fertilizer to be sold. I don't know if my cousin continued that in these past years, but that was always the thing. And my uncle would show up every morning at 7:30, open the store. He would go home around 7 that night. Now, he would slip off from time to time, but for the most part, he was there 6 days a week, 12 hours a day, day in and day out. Never saw him take a vacation. I think his vacation was to head over to the hills and get away from everything. And you just felt like you were in the middle of nowhere when you were over there in those hills. I have a lot of great memories from the grocery store. I'm hoping to catch up with my cousin and have some conversations with him about all of his years in the store. When he came back from the Navy, he went to work quickly in the store, and I remember working alongside him. I was in high school at that point, and we would stock grocery shelves on Monday nights after the groceries came in during Monday, and I always looked forward to that. As I got older, I could stay up later. I would spend my summers working in the store. I would work sometimes after school. Definitely on Saturdays, I would be there. But just a lot of great memories from that store, and no doubt that's where I got a work ethic that has continued today with me. Guess when your uncle puts you to work at the age of 9, and then my mother was at the store, and there was never time to be idle and just stand around. There was always a window to clean or a floor to sweep, always something to do, no time to be idle. I'm real proud of my cousin for continuing Anderson's Grocery all these years. I know it probably wasn't easy, particularly with the retail landscape that changed. I'm going to try to catch up with him and get him on this show, and we can talk about all those years that we worked together, we rode motorcycles together. That's about all I had. It was just thoughts that came to my mind Hopefully you have some of those same great memories and you will write them down, share them with your family and friends. Until we meet up again, you can find me on the internet at dantheroadtripguy.com. I hope you will follow this podcast so that you don't miss any upcoming episodes, and share it with your family and friends so that they can enjoy the stories of my guests also. Until we meet again on a future episode, keep having conversations with each other and keep driving.